And I try to put it all on YouTube, so just in case if for some reason, if you can't get it in Canvas or anything, you can always go to YouTube and you can find it. It's the best place to do it. So everybody's been upstairs to say happy birthday to Dr. O'Brien, right?
Yeah.
And got a piece of cake or a cupcake, right?
This is my first time coming out the house.
You just not coming out of the house?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Come on, girl.
Fun.
Thursday's almost over.
My first.
Thursday's almost over. All right, well, they're all probably over at the CAF now, where they are in a lecture by Paycom. And Paycom actually catered the food. And I believe you guys can sneak into that and get some catered food, not some CAF. That's so, I know you want some catered food and stuff. It's too late. That's why I'm gonna try to get you out. So you can get you some catered. So y'all can sneak in.
Are
Because
you gonna get some?
what's your major?
What's my major?
What's your,
Criminal justice and corrections.
yeah, I think you should sneak in. I think you'll be welcome. See, and look at here. Okay. So this is all that's really we're talking about today. Now, we just continued on Tuesday. Like I said, this is very short, and thank you for showing it. To be honest, I could have finished this on Tuesday. As you know, Constitution is nothing but a social contract for people who live on it. And the government is supposed to follow that social contract to the letter and also use the protections in that social contract to make sure that their people are protected from their government being overpowering them. Now, before the United States Constitution came into play, there were state constitutions or colonial constitutions. That eventually, of course, evolved into the US Constitution, but the states have retained their own constitutions because they have sovereign authority over their own areas. Now, what we did Tuesday, we looked over the Oklahoma Constitution and we see the little nuances. Especially Oklahoma Constitution is long, extremely long, 200 pages long. And we saw all the different changes in it. And this is common throughout the states on their constitution. Texas has 500 pages in their constitution. Seriously, what do you need? But we do have another set of people in this country, and they are sovereign nations. Those are native nations. Now, after 2021, I don't know if you guys ever heard of a case called the McGirt case in the state. And that says that no native can be tried for an offense by a state that's on native property. It also reaffirmed that Indian territory throughout the country still exists, and those are sovereign lands of native people. See, what many of you guys do not know is that back in the 1800s, and 1934, the United States tried to dissolve native areas, native lands, to absorb the native people. During this time, children would be taken from their homes, from their families, and put into boarding schools. They were also doing something called, I forget the term, where they would take the land, divide it up, and give the natives different parcels of land in different parts of states, and people will buy it up. But what was happening is This bill, the bills for this were passed through Congress. So that the natives' land could be reapportioned. But what happened is the president of the United States at the time didn't sign the law. So the United States government just went on the premise that since the law passed Congress, the president didn't sign it. They thought the president had signed it. They started to reapportion native lands and to divvy it out to people and say and dissolve Native American lands. And under the Indian Reorganization Act, it says each Indian tribe shall retain inherent sovereign power to adopt governing documents under procedures other than those specified in this section. Nothing in this act invalidates any constitutional or other governing document adopted by an Indian tribe after June 18, 1934. Also in this act, where I don't have here, this act pretty much says that all native lands that have not been reapportioned remains under native control. But what they didn't understand is that the reapportionment law that came out in the 1890s was never signed by the president. And all those native lands still exist. See, right now, half of Oklahoma belongs to native tribes. If you go to the other half, east side of Oklahoma City, out into the territory, you're native country. Say if you go into traffic, say you're going 75 miles an hour in the 70-mile zone, you can get stopped by Oklahoma police. Oklahoma State Police, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, whatever county you're in, whatever city you're in, but you will also get pulled over by tribal police, federal police, because all that's considered native land. So when the Indian Reorganization Act came into play, native tribes started creating their constitutions for their own people, creating the same constitutions that we have for each state, for the United States, for their own people, and started restructuring their governments for their own people that look a lot like representative governments that we have today. They did not know that they had this much power. And of course, even though it took it almost 80 years, 90, they got their lands back. And they had constitutions. And because of that, this is what stands today. There are 575 tribes that are recognized by the US government. Tribes are mostly organized like states. Tribal legislators are called tribal councils or legislators. And the executive branches are established and led by a governor, a chief, or a principal chief. And they all have independent judicial systems, established a tribal Supreme Court or tribunal. They are set up just like the United States government. They are set up just like every state. So when you say there are 50 states in the union plus territories, you also have to count there's 575 nations as well that are organized the same way. So when we are talking about different state and local policies, these same policies apply to each tribe. So when you go out of Western Oklahoma into Eastern Oklahoma, you will run into tribal areas. And you will be under the jurisdiction. I don't know if you've seen it, Josiah, especially if you've gone anywhere through Oklahoma. You'll notice signs on the highway that says you're entering Arapaho Nation. When you cross into that border, you're under the jurisdiction of Oklahoma, of whatever county it is in Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, the United States government, and the US and the tribe, say the Arapaho Nation, that's there. The Arapaho Nation overall will have jurisdiction over you. So if you commit a crime there, you are subject to tribal law. and federal law before you are subject to state law. You will not have any protection. And tribal law will always trump it, especially after the cases that just went through the US Supreme Court. If you're in a tribal nation, you will be subject to them under their constitutions. And I will tell you, some of the rights and protections in their constitutions do not match the US Constitution. You don't have the same protections. So, and that's in your own country, yes.
We had, and it's just that you bring up the tribes, we had the leader of the Tonga Nation, president of that native tribe, comes from like middle school. And they broke down their whole constitution and necessarily how they do things, where it's like, it's totally different, it's crazy.
Right, right. And you won't have the same protection. You're in the United States, but you don't have the same protections. Yes.
So you don't, so say you get a speeding ticket, and then you like have court through them, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't go to court or like pay a fine, who is like someone like give a warrant out under their government?
Yes.
So only their government can arrest you and not the police?
No, what they'll do is they'll issue a warrant for your arrest with their government. And the United States federal government will actually take up that warrant. So you would, instead of the state of Oklahoma, which can also take up that warrant, you will have the US Marshals looking for you. Now think about that. You have a speeding ticket through a tribal area and you skip on your ticket. And you get a knock at your door and it's a US Marshal. You have a warrant for your arrest in the Arapaho Nation. Come on. Come on, right there, because that's the United States capturing you and extraditing you to another nation.
You see where they were saying about different tribes driving in their locations, and you get pulled over.
Yeah. Don't fuck around and find out.
Nah, that's ridiculous though, like.
And the insurance is different. The moment you pass into a tribal nation, insurance, how it's different. A lot of your insurance carriers that you have on your cars won't cover your car, won't cover your stuff. Because the laws are different, the protections are different. They don't have the level of power. Remember, in most tribal areas, especially under their constitution, it's more communal. So no, they won't cover that. But you know, it's a beautiful thing too. You can own land on tribal nation, even though the tribe owns the land, but your parcel is for you to develop. And you can pass that down to different generations. But for some reason, if you don't have anyone to pass it down to, it reverts right back to the tribe. So that's how it works. Told you it'd be short. Any questions or comments? Everybody good? All right, so you know what your assignment's gonna be.
You still over this, right?
Yes. It's gonna be over this tribal. I'm gonna have you guys go and do some research over tribal nations. I'll have it all.
I was gonna say, do you do that?
You're gonna have to do the research. I wanna see what you thought.
It's a collaborative assignment, right?
It's a collaborative
Okay,
site.
cool.
You guys can all help.
I take advantage of that.
So.
We need a little group chat, so.
Cause I showed me and Jace.
But
be on
wait,
the phone.
what, the summit will be in there on Sunday, so wait until the videos. So it'll be okay. All right, that's it. I'll see you.
When is it doing again?
It will probably be due 2 weeks from.
Next
Sunday.
Okay. Next time,
It'll
okay,
be fun.
okay. Great.
Yeah, I can do something.
Okay.
All right, get out of here. Enjoy your lives. See if you can sneak in to the pay consolation and get some free food.
Well, where are they?
Yeah.
In the little
Huh?
It's not about.
Should be, yeah.
They'll talk about it.
Yeah, and they're catering, so it's not Catholic.
I had an always came.
Hey, I got it.
Yes, ma'am. And you. Don't worry. It's gonna be okay.
Okay,
Don't, so we are. No, abstract's supposed to just be a free summary, that's all it is.
No, I know what an abstract is, cause I've read one, but I don't understand, I don't know if you can see this, but I don't understand what.
Identify two peer review journals, articles for each establishment, the logs are logs in each, read each article, pay attention to the following section, the methodology, the results, okay. Abstract, 5 points, it's only 250 words, introduction, okay. What do you,
When is one too many to do?
250 words for your abstract?
Why does this say 500 words?
For methodology, that's your methodology session. Are you writing a thesis?
Yeah, but
Okay.
this isn't,
For your abstract, is only required, 250 words. Write an abstract, be sure to include all topics listed below, B, C, D, and E. B, C,
Hold on,
2
hold on,
points for
hold on.
methodology.
okay, but the methodology second.
Hold on, baby, we're talking about.
No, in your abstract, so. You need to
Oh,
mention
not in the-
your. A little bit
I know, but
of-
Hold on, baby, I can't hear
a little bit
you.
of the results and a little bit of discussion
Over these two articles.
over this.
What should you say that?
Yes. Are you in Dr. Matthews' class?
Yes.
Okay, just make sure. Just go to her and ask her. She'll tell you, okay? But basically, you don't need 250 words. Abstracts.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but then I read my.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.